Okay, tell me who you are and where you're from.
I am Najjar Abdul-Musawwir, and I'm from Carbondale, Illinois.
And where do you work now?
I work at Southern Illinois University in the School of Art and Design in Carbondale, Illinois.
And you are also an alumni?
Yes, I am. Right now I teach painting, drawing, and art history.
Okay. Who were your favorite teachers?
Oh, I would say Joe Feldman, who was a printmaker, Bob Paulson, a painter, and as well as Larry Bernstein, who was a painter as well. And I like to mention Brent Kington. He was a sculptor professor, but he knew a lot about African American art and African artists, and he used to have these great conversations about me, encouraging me more conscious of studying that aspect of art. Excuse me.
What influences you the most?
Basically, I influence myself. When not being narcissistic, but I'm simply saying that I'm multidimensional, and so I'm influenced by several things. I'm influenced by the fact that I'm a teacher, an educator. I'm influenced by I'm a father. I'm a painter. I'm also a community worker. I'm multidimensional. So it's kind of those things where being inspired, the inspiration comes from the fact that my engagement in different aspects of my life.
What is your dream project or something that you're working towards in the future?
Oh, my dream project right now, I would say, is with the St. Louis Art Museum. I'm working on a proposal for my sabbatical in 2023. And the good thing about it is that I have the opportunity, possibly, all things being equal, look like, that I'll be working with the American curator, and then I'll be looking at the Islamic art and the African American art, and looking at the abstraction of both and bringing the two things together. A perfect example is that they have a Islamic collection where they have porcelain and calligraphy, Islamic calligraphy. Then they have Dave the Potter and some of the imagery and so forth, and to see how that can come together in a piece of artwork. And it came about as a result of having the opportunity to go meet Sam Gilliam, who's lived in Washington, who passed away recently, but lived in Washington, D.C., and he was part of the Washington Abstract Artists Color School. And visiting him at his studio was like phenomenal. We had a conversation about it, what I was interested in, and in terms of abstraction, and we had looked through books and magazines so that eventually cover up this long table at his studio. And even though that was many years ago, I'm finding an opportunity to be able to revisit that conversation and in that moment to create a body of work during my sabbatical, hopefully at the St. Louis Art Museum.
And so we need to be looking for that in the fall of 23?
Fall of 23, yes.
Okay. What's on your playlist right now?
Oh man, it depends on what I'm doing. Depends on what's happening in my studio. It could be songs from Luther Vandross. It could be some hip hop music. It just could be a wide range. But to be more specific, excuse me. When I'm working on a series, I listen to certain music. For example, my banjo series, I actually listen to banjo music and music that's some of the banjo playing that was going on in earlier American history during the 18th century versus what's going on contemporary music that's being played with the banjos are being used to make music with. A perfect example is the Carolina Chocolate Drop, who I listen to in my studio a lot, maybe more than I should have. And because the way they used the banjo to have this conversation about the past and the present, to the point they even sometimes didn't wear shoes, trying to play off the idea of the hillbilly, quote unquote. But what's really wonderful is that Thomas Jefferson in his journal even pointed out that one of the greatest contributions made to America was the banjo. And so there was certain music I would listen to. But because the banjo is a descendant of the African string instruments, I also listen to African string instrument music in my studio. They also inspired these particular pieces as I would continue to engage.
If you could have dinner with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, man, that's a long list, But if I was to go with anyone, I would say George Washington Carver. And the reason because a lot of people know him as the Peanut Man, but he was a lot more than a peanut man. He was a scientist, but his passion was art. He wanted to, when he was born into slavery, came out of slavery, wanted to go to school. While he was a young kid, he looked at a lot of plants and he loved nature. And he did sketches of it, and he showed them to the school that he was trying to get into, one of the schools, and they felt that he would do better studying botany than to become an artist, to be able to, he'd have a better chance of having a career. So he went ahead and did that, but he did not abandon his interest in art. He continued, as a scientist, he made color pigments, 25 of them, as they say. He also took art classes. He also had an art class that he used his pigments for. He got a number of paintings in historically black colleges. He was a visual artist at heart. But at the same time, he used the plants that he was studying to make the very products and many other products. And so if I had the opportunity to sit with someone, I would sit with him, because another reason is because of his philosophy. He felt that to measure your success by your service to others. That's how you know if you're successful. And then I thought that was also interesting because Muhammad Ali, which I enjoy his take on it as well, that he said that his service to humanity is his way of paying rent on earth.
Good, that's good stuff.
Yes.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh gosh, stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble, stay out of trouble, stay out of trouble. But I've been loving art since I was knee high to a turtle, since I was very young and little. And so it almost seemed like it was intended for me to have a career as an artist. Even at family reunions, everybody said, "Oh, that's the artist." Everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's a young artist in our family." And I guess I believed it. And so what happened is that I wish that I can tell that young Najjar that find the people who can really get you to understand the art world in the full picture, meaning the dimensions of art in terms of studying. I would have loved to have been in an art school studying art at the age of 6, and learning the language, learning the techniques. Like Elizabeth Catlett, a famous printer, she once said that she wished she had to pay more attention to learning the techniques than being interested in trying to make something, to say something. And she said, because if I learned the language or the techniques, then I could say or make things a lot better.
Yeah.
And I wish that opportunity was presented to me, and I wish I could tell that young me that, hey, even though they're not coming to you, you can go to them.
Okay, great advice. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share.